Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the second Linux user group for the month of July. If you want to join us, the link is in the video description or on my Mastodon, so you can head over there, hit the button, and join us, or you can obviously stay here and watch live. So we're gonna talk about alternative Linux distros tonight and what Linux can learn from those things. And if we run into that, we have a backup topic as usual. So we're gonna jump right in. I'm as unprepared as usual, so. Let me ask you guys this question. Who here has actually tried a quote unquote alternative Linux distro? And when I talk about alternative Linux distro, I'm talking about NixOS, Geeks, Vanilla OS, Bluefin, Silverblue, things like that. So, who has tried one, and what was your experiences with that? Who wants to go first? D-Dubs?
Sort of, I can almost say all of the above. Obviously, I'm on NixOS now. That's my daily driver. Have been for going on over 2 years now. But I've used Bluefin. Uh, I tried UX, and that was like really weird, even by NixOS standards. So I didn't get very far with that. I consider Gen 2 alternative, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. I mean, pretty much I try as many as I can. Yeah, I tried some of the atomic ones and the silver blue and the bazite, and they were just not for me. There's the way that they packages are installed and dealt with is just too counter to me.
Okay. Anybody else have want to talk about their experiences on any of these before we jump into the more uh, specific questions that I have to ask? Well, I will go then. I'm obviously on NixOS now, and I have been for 15 days, which is, is what it is. And thank you for focusing on me so well, camera. I appreciate that. Um, I'm having a much different experience this time than I had last time. I think because I'm actually daily driving it and I've learned more about it. Um, I will say that I'm having, I don't know. I have some very opinionated opinions on what I'm using, so I might save those from another time. But overall, it's actually fairly good. Drew?
We did one on the podcast. We did, and we were going to do Vanilla OS, and that kind of like fell by the wayside. Unless I'm mistaken, Matt, we kind of threw that one away, right?
Yeah, none of us really cared for. I mean, we all installed it. It was kind of like, what the hell's going on here?
So that's been my experience on a number of these kind of like distro. I wouldn't use them, I guess. And I am old and barely stable. So I stick to what I know. Overall, though, you got to kind of like at least try. You have to kind of like bite the bullet sometimes, get out of your comfort zone, and try some of these distros. And you might be pleasantly surprised. But what's the one that we did that was a Fedora, mostly for gaming? And I don't remember. And it was actually developed. Yeah, no, I don't think it was Bazite. I think it was
Nobara.
Nobara. Thank you. Yeah, Nobara was the one that was that built by Gloria Segrol, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was actually better. I had a better experience with that than Vanilla OS, which is a Debian derivative, let's call it. So.
D-Dubs?
Oh, it's funny. I'm actually installing Nobara as we speak to try something. But what's interesting is the peak. It seems like the Pika OS guys came from Nobara because I just loaded up the GNOME version of Nobara and it's the same as Pika OS. It has that same. You launch into it. It has the steps and you can install apps and so forth. And it's interesting. But just to concur, you really got to try an OS and use it, because if you just kind of throw it on the side, you'll always do what you're comfortable with. It's honestly it's fun. That's why I do it in VMs.
D-Dubs, I'm curious. Do you have a count on how many VMs you actually have at the moment right now? Just like a guesstimation?
Um,
I know you're always trying stuff. That's
Yeah, I've got 60 or so, 68-ish.
I don't. I can honestly say I've never had more than 5. I delete. Usually when I'm done with one of mine, I just delete it. Like I'm done with it. I can delete it.
Well, for me, I'm also using them for support. So, for example,
Hmm.
my Linux for work, he's got Arch, Fedora, OpenSUSE. Of course, JAK has got a whole bunch of different distros. I've got ZanyOS, DWSOS, the stable branch, the development branch. So I have them all so that I can spin them up as I need them. And so yeah, it's a little bit different situation.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the question I have asked for you guys next is, we'll just start here. Do you feel that? All right. So we have alternative Linux distros, which I've defined, and then traditional Linux distros, which I'm going to define as like Ubuntu, Fedora, Mint, Debian, OpenSUSE, things like that. So, do you guys feel that there are parts of traditional Linux distros that are in actual need of change? And what changes do you think could be made that are influenced by those alternative Linux distros? It's a very complex question. So I will go first. I am a big proponent of Btrfs, and one of the things that I think that a lot of the alternative Linux distros do is the ability to roll back your system. So like NixOS has generations, Silverblue and Bluefin or whatever allow you to roll back because of Btrfs. I think that that's one change that I would love to see come to traditional Linux. The ability to, if an update borks your system, to be able to boot into Grub and then roll back to a working version. I think that would be amazing. So that'd be one of mine. Des, go ahead.
Yes, I think they can learn different things from each other. And one of the things, according to Matt's video, is that the packages can be specified by a configuration file, the packages that are supposed to be there or whatever. And I actually implemented a feature like that for my Mint. But it probably doesn't work exactly the same, but I created a feature like that.
Do you use Timeshift or something like that, or is it a custom tool?
It's a custom tool essentially made with bash scripts.
Cool. DW, you had your hand up. Did you want to go?
Yeah, I was actually trying to. I was going to just dovetail on what you said because I've seen more and more distros supporting Btrfs. Not all of them do it well yet, um, but I was thinking more the lines. I wasn't sure how I could best phrase it, but using Nix and some of the other ones that are that kind of declarative, you've got a lot of it solves dependency issues. Um, it allows for better integration with like Git and so forth to manage your configs. There are some of those tools like Stow. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are out there that I wish some of the distros would use. I mean, there's the obvious thing. I mean, I love Debian. I wish it would just kind of like catch up a little bit because I always end up having to patch it, so to speak, and then you're not really at that stable version anymore. So you might as well be at SID or you might as well be at testing because you've got to pull other stuff anyway. So it's like I say, I didn't really have a good coherent thought that I started with. It just kind of rambled.
That's okay. You know me, I love my ramble, so I can. You're not gonna turn me away from a ramble. Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, just to continue off some of that, like the versioning control, rollback ability, and just repeatability is definitely something that like you can do to a degree in any Linux, but that's something that a lot of those alternative distros really stand out with is that controlling and rollback and whether containerization, like true containerization, or just containerization type concepts, but not true containerization. Those types of things, I think are really good for others to take along. And I think things like Flatpak have really helped, at least with some of that, with a lot of other distros lately, and it's a good thing that's taken off, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the ones that I had was basically along that is reinstallability. Definitely not a word, but I'm going to coin it anyways. I think so. One of the things I did for a recent video that's not been posted yet was I did how to install NixOS, because I've been asked over and over again, like how do you install NixOS? It's like really boring because it just uses a Calamari's installer. But then in the second half of that video, I reinstalled using my configuration file just without knowing how to do it, and it was astonishingly easy. Other than I made a mistake, but it was really cool to be able to take my configuration file and just have that appear on the VM with all of my stuff, the applications at least. So that was cool. So it'd be cool. It would be nice if more traditional Linux had the ability to kind of build that feature in. What I don't know is the problem with that is cross distro compatibility. So like being able to take your stuff from Manjaro to Fedora, those guys aren't going to use the same tool, right? Maybe you would be able to use the same tool, but if they had the same feature, they'd both do it in a different way, and you wouldn't be able to have as easy of a transition, I don't think, simply because Linux distros don't cooperate when it comes to developing these things, right? Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, for going distro to distro, not perfect. Definitely, there's some problems, but what worked for me pretty well was just having a dedicated home SSD. With that, I was able to go from Manjaro to OpenSUSE at the wrong time, but right when the KDE 6 upgrade came out. Um, but I was able to do that while still having all my configs, like even like my Vivaldi and Signal sessions were kept and everything. And then I went back to Manjaro and all that stuff was still kept, and minimal issues at that point. I had issues down the line on another reinstall, and then I was like, okay, no, now I actually need to wipe my home and start that over. But that worked pretty well for me. But that, of course, does not actually take any of the lessons from the Nixon alternatives. And dang it, camcorder, stop doing those effects. Okay.
uh, I think that the thing that I'll just move on. Actually, I lost my thoughts. So another one that I was thinking about is automatic updates. When I spent my time on Bluefin, the ability for have that thing to just update everything in the background without you ever knowing about it was amazing. Now, I'm a nerd. I like to watch my updater update things, but I think most people enjoy the fact that, or would enjoy the fact that it would just update for them. It's one of those Windows features that is done annoyingly well, but also horribly because they force you to reboot. So they took it just a little bit too far. So I think automatic updates is another feature that would be good. Nerdgasm?
Yeah, automatic updates is definitely something that I really would like to be better on a lot of things that offer it. So I've been testing out like Fedora Kinoite and some others for a while, to try to see what's going to be best to like put my dad on or something like that. And while things like Fedora Kinoite do have an automatic update option, it's not fully truly automatic, it seems to me. I still have had to at many points actually have to go into Discover and say, hey, update these things, for it to actually apply for the reboot. When I've set it to, yeah, do this daily, automatic, leave it running for a couple days, come back, and it didn't actually install any of those updates, even upon the reboot. So it's been kind of disappointing.
True.
It's more of a question about updating. Is it worrisome for the whole thing to update, or do you have control over maybe just security updates? to your system? It's more of a question than anything else.
Well, with like Bluefin, it's everything. Like it's just it all updates all at once. But it uses a tool in the background called Top Grade, so you could in theory alter how that does because that has a configuration file. So you could, if you wanted to, go in and mess around with the configuration file to make that change. But by default, I do believe that it's literally everything. So it does the system updates, it does the Flatpak updates, and then it just basically just waits for you to reboot your computer for the kernel specific ones to take effect. So, yeah. Rybread, go ahead.
Are NixOS updates always automatic, or is that
No, you have to
'cause-
enable it.
okay? Because I don't mind it being an option, but I really like part of the reason I left Windows in the first place was I hated the way they handled updates. I don't mind being notified of them, which is what Fedora does, but I really don't like not being in control of what gets updated. Kind of like what Drew was alluding to.
Do you think that that's a nerd thing, or is that a like everybody has that kind of opinion? Because for me, I think it would be more us nerds who want to pay attention to updates. Whereas if you install this on your mom's PC, you know, the automatic updates thing might be better. Go ahead, Red.
Well, with automatic updates, a lot of the complaints, at least from the people who use Windows, which is most people, is that those automatic updates interrupt them while they're doing work or playing games. So automatic updates, if they can truly be in the background and not be obtrusive in a general pain, I think they're probably a good thing for the average person. But if they're rebooting your computer before you can save a paper you've been working on for 5 hours, or which like it can really ruin someone's day if a reboot happens at an inopportune time.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with Windows, or at least it has historically.
So on both Nix and Bluefin for sure, there's no restarting without your permission, right? Now, on Nix you can set a line in there that will restart it without asking if you want to, but you get control over that. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't know anybody running NixOS that has automatic updates.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I don't know. You're the first one.
I have it enabled, but I don't have it. I don't know that it's actually done anything yet.
Yeah, because it's. Well, I mean, with NixOS, especially if you're unstable, it's not too bad. Oops, that's weird.
Yeah, Nerdgasm, you started sharing your screen there for a reason or something, bud. Okay, stop pressing buttons. You're not supposed to just mash them together, okay? Why'd we let the Windows user come in? I'm just... And it would have been more funny. Why is the Manjaro user here again? I'm sorry. Noob forever, go ahead.
I'm not Manjaro anymore.
Well, I think for me it's a nerd thing to watch my updates and have full control over them. But if I look at my surroundings, my dad or my mom, they go nuts watching that stuff. They think their whole computer is blowing up. So automatic updates in the background would be ideal for them.
Yeah, it's the way basically I feel too, is for people who aren't interested in, like, I loved watching Zipper Update. I think it was fantastic. But I don't know about normal people. Des, go ahead.
First of all, something that Windows did that I really hated was at a certain point, even when you had the update restart off, it made you update at a certain time. It made you apply the updates, and I hated that. I wish that there was an option to say no, apply them later, like for an infinite amount of time, and then it would have been a great way to update for me for as far as Windows goes. And then actually for the average person, I would actually say the average person, me, I'm going to want updates sometimes, but the average person probably just wants their computer to work and doesn't care if they're running the latest stuff or not. Kind of like Debian and Mint on the Linux side. And so the average person would probably rather you had full control over updates and could just say, fine, never update this thing, or only security updates and nothing else. And that way, hopefully, it doesn't break. And then they have to spend hundreds of dollars finding one of us to go fix it for them. And users like that, some examples that I've seen, my grandparents and my mom that are that way. So Mint's been good for my mom when we installed it to fix a problem, because it's the closest thing we have to that sort of update capability.
I think that I don't think that there's a single distro that offers the automatic updates that doesn't give you control over whether or not they're even enabled or not. I think they all, like, I'm pretty sure with like Bluefin you can turn them off. I do think they come in automatically enabled, but I do believe you can turn them off. But that's the only one I know where there's like opt out instead of opt in. Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, so on Fedora Kinoite, it is set to manual by default, but it does give you the option for automatic. And I was trying to do a screen share of a virtual machine before, and oh gosh, now it's flipped, so you can't even read that. Okay, but no, it says on the automatic software updates will be downloaded automatically when they become available. Updates for applications will be installed immediately, while system updates will be installed next time the computer is restarted. So for applications, if they're open, the change doesn't actually take effect until the application's fully closed and then reopens. And for the system updates, obviously, it's like it says when it reboots. And as far as I know, any of the distros that have the automatic updates when it's doing system stuff, it's always upon a reboot. Ubuntu, or at least Kubuntu, I haven't tried regular Ubuntu, but Kubuntu has an automatic update option as well in the settings, and it does the same thing. It does it upon reboot. Of course, backend is a little bit different with Kubuntu not being an atomic and immutable distro like Kinoite is, but still they're essentially doing that the same way. And it should be compared to Mint, at least it's less user interaction, because you don't have to go into the update manager or anything like that at any point. And while I've had problems with Kinoite, like not actually installing the or downloading the system updates like it says it's going to, it still is more hands off than I've seen with most other things. I do need to test out Bluefin. It's been a long time since I've done that. But I want to have something for my parents that is actually truly hands off, and so far Kinoite's been the closest to that for me, because as far as they know, it just reboots. Things just happen. It boots back up. It doesn't look different to them. They open the app. The app looks probably the same unless the app had a major UI redesign. And that's great because they don't care about updates or anything. They just want things to work. And so yeah, that's something that's really important, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, see, it's really weird because two or 3 years ago, if someone asked if you wanted to put a distro on someone's computer and have it just work, their answer would have been Ubuntu. And that was my dad. I switched him over to Linux, and he uses 20 out of 04, and he has been for almost 5 years. I don't know how many times that thing's been updated. I don't know, 'cause I don't do it. I'm pretty sure he doesn't do it, but it also doesn't matter because all he does is get into Chrome and do jigsaw puzzles and watch YouTube videos. That's all he does on it. It doesn't matter if it has security updates because he doesn't visit anything other than those two things. It doesn't matter if it has the new features. I don't think he's changed the wallpaper. I'm pretty sure he still has. Was 2004 Groovy Gorilla? I don't know. It was one of the. He still has the wallpaper, the weird wallpaper. So, like, he's the type of silver, blue, or bluefin would be great for him. But I'm not switching him to it because he's on Ubuntu. He's happy with it. Drew, go ahead.
That was going to be actually my thought or my question is with limited. I mean, I don't know your parents, so they could be PhD developers for all I know. But my thought was, are immutable distros more trouble than they're worth for people that are just surfing the web, that aren't really doing anything with regard to installing a lot? If they have a browser that works 90x% of their daily driving is done. They don't even have to do with anything.
I don't know that it would be more trouble when it's worth, because really you install it and then just let it go and it just function. Like, if you were to put vanilla vanilla bluefin up and Ubuntu up at the same time, really, I mean, the UI is going to be different because Ubuntu does their own, basically GNOME flavor. But other than that, the experience would be basically the same, because you're going to install stuff from the GNOME store. You're going to use the stuff in the same way. And if you're the type of person like my dad, he's not going to do the updates either way, so it doesn't really matter what he uses. Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the question sounded more rhetorical to me, but yeah, like no, it's the immutable distributions are the perfect ones for those web browser only users, because the biggest problem I've seen when it comes to the immutable distributions like Kinoite is that the limitations of what is actually in the repositories, and then adding things that are not in the official repositories becomes more of a problem, because it is image based, and you're going to have to mess with the OS tree stuff, and that could then introduce problems down the line, which is the part of the whole point of having an image based immutable system, is to avoid those sorts of problems. So that's been part of my testing before applying that to something like my parents. Like, I need to make sure that I can get something like DVD Fab running well in bottles for my dad before I get him set up on that, or else that's not going to work right, and I got to put him on something else. My mom, I already put on Kinoite, and she hasn't used it at all yet, but that's going to be absolutely perfect for her.
Yeah, your hand's still up. That's weird that when Jesse does that. So I think that for me, the idea behind the alternative Linux distros, it feels like they're taking two different tracks, right? So I've pulled NixOS and Geeks and Vanilla and Bluefin and Silverblue all together in a basket of alternative Linux distros. But really, they're have to be separated, because you can't tell a new user to go use Nix. You really couldn't put Nix on your mom or dad's computer without being able to tell them how to install something, and that's obviously different. And whereas with, I think, like Bluefin and Silverblue, at least the experience is similar to more traditional Linux distros. So I guess the question I have for you guys: do you think that distros like Nix and Vanilla and Geeks and the distros that are actively trying to do different things, do you think that those have a place in more widespread Linux usage going forward, or will they always remain like super niche distros? Because like NixOS has been around for 20 years or something like that. Bluefin and Kinoite and all those are fairly much newer, but this more alternative way of doing Linux, where do you think it has a place in the more widespread usage? Brad, go ahead.
It certainly seems that distros like Ubuntu and Fedora want to head in the direction of like Atomic style distros as their primary offering. I've said before, I don't know how I feel about that, but that certainly seems the way the devs want to go.
Anybody else just get like a weird shiver down the spine when you think of an all snap distro? Maybe it's just me. Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I think something like Nix, I think that will remain a niche, but it will be a growing niche as just more and more people enter into the space as a whole. It will seem like it's getting a lot bigger, but it'll still just be a niche, a growing niche. But some of those other lessons, like immutability and stuff like that, that is definitely something that's gonna grow and be more likely to be used, especially as people get sick of Windows and corporations start seeing that as opportunities to just start rebranding other existing immutable distros and just start pushing those out on devices for people and stuff like that. Because like yeah, for most people, those sort of things will just work because most people just need the web browser and a few other packages maybe. Um, so like that sort of thing, yeah, that's gonna become much more mainstream, I think. But Nix itself, yeah, NixOS will definitely just remain a niche.
Hip Dad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a niche because, well, I don't know. Gen 2's maybe a niche, BSD's a niche. Uh, there's always going to be not what I, well, separation really is you have people that just want to install the distro, the OS, and they want certain things to work. Boom, 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 click, 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 and they work. And you're going to have people that want to install an operating system that they can dig into and they can get into the configs. They can uh, tinker and they can, they can just prove the operating system. And so, I mean, there's always going to be that separation, but that's always been there.
Yeah. Drew, go ahead.
I'm not sure about the timeline, but I know that the corporate IT departments are going to be conservative and they're going to stick with what they know. And for the most part, though, I'm more curious about what the real impact will be when you're talking about systems that push this entire Linux ecosystem toward better practices like containerization and things like that. Traditional distros are going to have to, or I would imagine, adopt some rollback capabilities, better package isolation, more declarative configuration options. So these are the things that I think are going to be pushed more into the mainstream, but by mainstream distros. So Debian may end up taking a page out of like something that we're talking about that is more containerized and actually have more of an implementation going forward, like or Fedora or Arch or what have you. But as far as its current state, I don't see how it's anything other than a nerd, a very nerdy paradigm to take a gander at.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a pick and choose kind of thing. So like we know, so if you look at the corporate distros right now, you have, the Ubuntu for Canonical, Red Hat, SUSE, Rocky Alma, basically based on RHEL. I think that a lot of where this goes, how it goes, that really does depend on where RHEL goes, because usually where RHEL goes, Linux follows, right? You have Wayland, Pipewire, all those things directly coming from those guys. So if they start working towards this, some of the alternative features, things like Butterfest rollbacks, things like reproducibility, and stuff like that. So hold on just a second. What are you doing back there? Stop that. Sorry, stupid dog. Anyways, so I think that really where RHEL goes is where Linux goes, and it'd be interesting to see what that ends up being, because I do think that, Drew, you're right that a lot of the corporate distros are going to look towards some of these things, and try to figure out what's what. Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, so for how things will be adopted, there's gonna it's obviously a bit different between how things get adopted in corporate environments versus how they get adopted by consumers, regular users, and stuff like that. But both ways, there's going to be a matter of ease of entry, and that's where something like NixOS kind of falls at, which makes sense. Like it's its own special thing. You got to learn how to do things the next way, but that's a barrier to entry for a lot of people, a lot of corporations, and stuff like that. So that seems a lot less likely that that specifically would start to be adopted a lot more. Uh, but something like immutability and image-based atomic distros, that sort of thing has a lot easier of an entry point in, because versus most other regular Linux distributions, a general user is not going to just see much of the difference when they get into it and start using it and start installing stuff. It's only going to really be different on when the updates apply and how that goes down. Um, and so for consumers, that's super easy point of entry. And then for corporations using it and rolling it out to their users and stuff like that, there's the same barrier as there always is. Of just the IT department's got to figure it out, and then they got to make sure it's going to work and roll that out to every person. So the barrier for Linux as a whole in the corporate environment, as far as users go, is still just really high. But once that is crossed, I do think something like an image-based atomic immutable distro will be like the way that a lot of them will go, because they can control that just from the IT level in a similar way that they've controlled rollout of Microsoft updates for things and group policy across organizations. Except for it'll just be a Linux stack instead, and users won't have to do anything, won't have to worry about anything. They'll just kind of apply, and boom, when computers reboot, things apply, stuff like that. Different barriers of entry for different sides, but I think that's the big thing that's going to decide whether or not different principles of these alternative distros get adopted in the larger sense. If someone like Red Hat does it, it's going to push that forward a lot. But it's doubtful that Red Hat would adopt something in a way that makes it super complicated for the end user, um, like a NixOS approach, as opposed to the other stuff that we've talked about.
What's funny is most of the stuff you just explained was Chrome OS. Like, it literally just, and Google just killed Chrome OS. Like, it's gonna be Android now. So, it's interesting. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned like Red Hat, Canonical. Don't forget Oracle. They've actually got a huge market in servers because they're selling solutions. Now, as far as NixOS goes, not many people in corporations are using Nix. They're using determinate systems, which is the commercial entity of NixOS. And that's actually doing quite well in the government space and the development space. So you're right, you won't really see quote unquote NixOS. And also in all of these solutions, the corporations aren't really going out and saying, okay, we want Red Hat or we want Oracle or whatever. They are buying a solution from a third party. They don't oftentimes even care about the hardware. They don't care about the OS. You're going to deliver a 5.9s solution, whether it's containers or whatever it is. They don't really care as long as it works. So many IT departments today aren't actually managing their own IT. Dell, for example, has a program where the Dell technician actually manages all your hardware on site. He literally works in your building. That's his job. He updates all the firmware. He updates the software. You want to build a new system? This is the guy that's going to put it in. Or you're deploying an upgrade? This is the guy that's going to be coordinating it. So much is being outsourced by corporations. It's pretty crazy. It's a very big business.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really hard. I mean, D-Dubs, you're gonna know more about it, and some of you other guys maybe, but I mean, most of us are just regular old, Linux users, so with very little experience in the enterprise. But it is interesting to see, because I think, and maybe one of the other guys kind of were alluding to this point, but where enterprise goes, often, Linux follows, because a lot of in order to have a new feature or a new big like initiative to move Linux in a different direction, there has to be a commercial reason to do so, and otherwise the status quo stays where where it needs to be. So I think that in order for some of the features we're talking about to filter up into like more traditional Linux, there has to be a commercial reason for that to happen. Part of the, I mean, the also it relies on there being a more a consensus, because a lot of times, I know we've talked a little bit about this filtering up into Red Hat. Can you think of anything that's ever actually filtered up into Red Hat? Usually whatever Red Hat does filters down, not the other way around. Well, that rhymed. But, it's usually the way it is. So if anything, it's more likely that there will be a new thing that comes along from Red Hat that will then filter down to traditional Linux, then something, from the more niche things filtering on up. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to just add one little piece. You were talking about enterprise. The last storage that I supported at Dell is completely managed remotely by Dell. Firmware updates, you actually do a pre-test, you do a preload, and then you actually authorize them to get the update. And then you literally work them through the process. But the data telemetry comes in. It's like what EMC used to do. Basically, we call you and say, by the way, you've got a drive going bad. Or by the way, we're going to replace your controllers. Or by the way, there's a firmware that you have to install because of this issue. It is crazy what Dell had to do for these enterprise customers. And that wasn't even, I didn't even work in the largest space for top tier enterprise. But yeah, that's where the reality is. You're selling a solution, whether it's Dell with a partner or whether it's some other third party. They're bringing in whatever it is, Salesforce, or they're bringing in whatever, and they just manage it. So it's very different for those of us who actually manage our own systems, whether it's the updating or whether should I do this or that or whatever. But large corporations, plus, by the way, a lot of the enterprise solutions require ISO compliance through your whole process. So it's a very different way. The concept of automatic updates don't really exist in the enterprise space. They're all planned. They have to be. So I'm sorry, just to wrap up. So when you talk about seeing something from an Oracle or Red Hat trickle down, most of it's just not going to be applicable for us, for the average user at all. It's just, okay. I mean, they have clustering and they have, the Kubernetes and they have all these other things that, we don't care.
Yeah. Rybread, go ahead.
I'm actually going to fight back a little bit on that last point. As a general rule, not everything, obviously, but everything consumers have, as far as tech is concerned, didn't start. Not everything, but most things, like your car, like all the stuff we have in cars, started on the racetrack. Like the fancy steering and hydraulic dampeners and whatnot in the suspension, like adjustable suspension, that started in race cars. This is like computer hardware, like it started in like databases and like pure business use before it eventually became the personal computer. So like you're right, D-Dubs, not everything will trickle down, but there will certainly be things that do. Because that's kind of how it goes for technology across everything.
D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah, I won't argue that. I'm just saying a lot of the large things that they use today in the enterprise level just aren't applicable, so you won't really see them. I mean, F1, you want to talk about race cars, F1, what technology from F1 has made it to the cars? None. It's just, it's too niche. It just doesn't really apply. But absolutely, like BetterFS, the file systems, uh, management packages, the web servers with the back end, that all the stuff now trickles down to us. Use it for Nextcloud, you use it for all these things. Absolutely. I'm just saying at the very, very top tier stuff, you don't really see.
Well, ButterFS is really interesting because like RHEL doesn't use it, or they use XFS, right? For whatever reason, a lot of people just consider ButterFS too unstable to use, right? So,
Yeah, they've used XFS for a very long time though.
yeah. So
In years. I mean, the servers that I had that were years old were running XFS. But BetterFS, unfortunately, doesn't do RAID
it
well,
doesn't do way right. Well,
and it does mirroring. But even just recently, there was a bug with it.
but,
So
I mean, they're all are alternative, like ZFS, ZFS, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if that's too RAID focused for it to ever become a more traditional thing or not. I don't know. It's interesting because like NixOS has the ability to roll back and stuff while using ext4, so it's obviously not a Butterfest thing that needs to happen. Anyways, Drew, do you want to go? Go ahead.
I was trying to let D-Dubs finish his thought if he had like a comeback or anything like that. Anyway, the one thing that we talked about a little bit, and we said we didn't like it, was vanilla OS. But I see that there is potential with that particular distro or that particular implementation going forward. I think it does a fairly good job of kind of hiding the fact that it's immutable, even though I don't like it. I think that it has potential. The other thing that I wanted to mention, though, as far as like, Red Hat, it feels like with this kind of trickle down into Fedora and then from there into, let's say, Kinoite or what's the other one? The one that's GNOME, Silverblue. Those have like, it's like, those are kind of like guardrails, if to use like the car, the car analogy or something. Like, it's kind of like guardrails in that it's like, okay, here it is, but to me, it's not obviously not going to be a beginner distro. It's definitely more for someone who's on the medium or higher tier. But I think what D-Dubs does with these, with having virtual machines and being able to test these things in terms of like, okay, so this is how they approach this, makes things a lot better for, for him as well. But I'm just talking about if we all have these kind of interests, it does a lot if we have a VM to spin this up, see how it actually like behaves, and then kind of like make some, good decisions, like what Nerdgasm was talking about with, putting his parents on something going forward. The thing that is, without question, Matt's always said, it's like kind of like the trickle down effect. When you've got Red Hat going from there to Fedora to some of these like, whether it be Silverblue or Kinoite or what have you. So, immutable distros. By the way, sorry, I'm really good, and I'm going to probably make myself look stupid right here, but I think I recognize Rybread's voice, and I think he's a YouTuber that I have watched before. But that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Wait a minute. Is Mr. Beast in the room? No. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly, you mentioned ZFS, and a lot of people don't realize how old of a file system that actually is, because it's an amazing file system. It is way more than a RAID or a BetterFS. It has a lot of those same features, but it's a pretty incredible file system. Excuse me. So that's something that if you ever really wanted to experiment with a pretty cool file system, that's it. And most people only use it for like mirroring or snapshots or what have you, but it's got replication. It's got all kinds of features. We create zones and so forth. So yeah, it's pretty tight.
The reason why I said had some negative things to say about it is from what I've now I don't know this to be true, but the actually using it as like for a root file system like you'd need to if you're going to use it as on a distro has some issues. Is that
No,
no?
not that I'm aware of anyway. I mean, I've because I use it with Proxmox. All my stuff is ZFS. With when I was doing it with Sun systems years and years ago. I mean, that's all we ran because we used it for like mirroring the boot drives to the huge amounts of and even back then the high terabytes, which were just crazy storage back then. No other file system could really do it as well. So better if it's like I say, if I know it's had a number of issues recently and throughout its life, but ZFS is pretty solid, especially under Solaris, because OpenZFS is a little bit different. I mean, it is kind of I can't even say it's a fork, but it's a it's an open source version of it. But there were, like, say, back in the heyday of the internet craze, everybody was running ZFS, your databases, everything. Because you were talking about like how to the rollbacks and snapshots and replication and consistency and all kinds of. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, before we move on, just a second, I got a couple things to take care of. Nate, thanks for the $5. He has this to say: too tired and lazy to join. Okay, I'm glad to see we rank right up there, Nate. He said, but to D-Dub's point, that's how I have a business. I am the IT support and provide that for multiple businesses. That's cool. And the guy right underneath him, I am not a NixOS hater. I just like the hat. Anyways, Hip Dad, go ahead.
Just to maybe, I don't want to derail things, but just to flip back to the NixOS being niche, I'm observing something with distros and Linux itself. The Bazaar package manager, it's picking up steam, and I see it as a possible universal package manager for all distros if they roll it that way, and if Bazaar is made as a universal package manager that will work in NixOS, NixOS will no longer become niche. It will no longer be niche.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Hip Dad.
Thank you. Thank you. I was lost myself.
What are you talking about? Don't raise your hand, Hip Dad. Just go ahead and tell us what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
The Bazaar package manager, the one that's been in a lot of the Linux conversations lately, as far as I forget what distro it's in, being developed in. I think it's
Wait, you're. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about that GNOME. It's a replacement for the GNOME Software Center. That's not a package manager, D-Dubs. That's just a front end for Flatpak.
yeah, but I mean, oh, okay, so it's just a front end for Flatpak.
Yeah,
but
they're
just like
yeah.
Zoe says that it's the new uBlue store.
Yeah, it's just gonna install Flatpak. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's gonna be only Flatpaks.
Like I was sitting here wondering, like, what the hell has Hip Dad finally lost the plot? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Okay.
Hey, I lose the plot all the time, man.
Like, Hip Dad's like, I lost the plot years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that was around 50 when I developed diabetes. I mean,
Diabetes. All right. No, all right.
Diabetes.
Yeah, Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Okay, last time I tried vanilla was right after Vanilla OS 2 Orchid came out, and I also did not care for it too much, but I'm not even seeing anything on its main pages of the website of what it was saying was a big part of it, which was going to be different communities essentially having their own image scripts that would be contributed. And so when you install vanilla, you could either use one of theirs or build your own to have, so it would be really repeatable, as well as shareable and then fit within the vanilla ecosystem there. But that was not didn't have anything else in it at the time because had just come out. So I didn't care for it because I couldn't even get KDE on it, and and I was like, I cannot stand GNOME personally. But yeah, I'm not even seeing that on their thing anymore. So I'm wondering if that's still part of it. I haven't dived deep into the documentation though. Um, and then I will say on the ZFS, uh, gosh, so when I first heard about ZFS was definitely not when it was originally coming out because it is quite old, but I think I was hearing about it because it was having a resurgence due to some updates that made it better applicable to more modern types of file storage mediums. Because it was, and I could just be wrong here, but I wanted to say it was more built for older hard drives and stuff like that back originally. So once it was actually updated to work with modern storage mediums better and some other modern stuff. I don't know exactly because I didn't go into it deep, but that's where I saw the resurgence, and now we're seeing it integrated into a lot of other systems, especially NAS and stuff like that. Um, so like yeah, ZFS seems really awesome. My brother's using it. I would be using it on my my server if it wasn't for the fact that I'm just doing a bunch of drives of different sizes, and Unraid just with its no raid handles that better for me currently.
Yes, go ahead.
If we all agreed on one package manager or system package manager, as my project is calling it, then my project would be dead.
Well, I don't think you have to worry about that. We're never going to agree. But we're talking about package managers, and Dad, you're talking about that thing spurred a thing that I wanted to talk about. You're right. All of these well, not all of them, but a lot of these alternative ones, alternative Linux distros or whatever we want to call them, do package management differently. So like Nix does things the Nix way. Bluefin and a lot of the atomic distros are Flatpak only, and you're pretty much limited to how you install things unless you want to delve into the RPM-OS tree stuff. And distros like Vanilla, the reason why Vanilla was so weird for me was because it was literally trying to do everything at once. Like it was trying to be, it was like, you want to install a package from Arch? You can do that. You can use the Arc. They have this thing called Arc, A-R-K, I believe, that allows you to use any package manager you want on their distro. Now, I don't know how well it works. I could never get it to work, but the idea behind it is like everything to everyone all the time. And I think that idea is too busy. But what do you guys think about this idea of alternative package managers? Because we've had alternative package managers forever, but if you think about it, like things like Pacman and apt and DNF, they all do basically the same thing. The syntax may be different between some of them, but they basically taking a binary from somewhere else, installing it on your system along with its dependencies. Whereas a lot of the alternative ones are doing things just a little bit differently. So what do you guys think of the alternative ideas for managing packages that we have right now? Nate, go ahead.
Would be nice and join. Thanks for calling me out in midstream. Anyways, what I feel like that Linux will always be Linux. This is very consistent of Linux. Are you ready for the big reveal? We're not going to agree. That's it. Thank you.
That's true. Okay, we might as well just stop there. All right. So for me, there are many different ways of doing package management, obviously, but the best ones usually have a ability to be user friendly, and not all of the stuff Vanilla OS does not user friendly. Maybe they have a lot of good ideas. I think that things like Bluefin and Silverblue have too many ideas for iterations, so they have done a couple different versions of the GNOME Software Center. They do seem to have been settled on Flatpak, which is good. So the back end's fine, but the front end still seems to be kind of up in the air. Although they do like the thing that HipDad pointed out. So I'm not sure that they have a clear vision on how they want to present the package manager quite yet. And then you have things like, you know, Nix doing it their way, and you have a couple of other things. They're just kind of doing it in a separate way, but all the good ones that have been traditionally well received, like apt, like DNF, are user-friendly to use from the terminal, obviously, but also present an easy use for in the a GUI situation. So when we had like the GNOME Software Center or the software in the Ubuntu, the ability to easily present deb packages to the user. One more time, just give me a second. What are you doing back there, dog? Huh? What are you doing? Sorry, dog's having a conniption fit. Anyways, I have no clue what I was talking about. The best package managers have always been fairly user-friendly. So do you guys think that the alternative ones meet that criterion? Because a lot of them just, like, I don't know that I'd ever say NixOS or Nix is user-friendly, or the vanilla stuff obviously isn't. I'm not... Bluefin and stuff kind of are, I guess. Rybread, go ahead.
So I'm assuming we're talking about things like Snap and Flatpak and Nix packages. Is that accurate?
I think he stepped away for the dog for a second.
Okay. Well, I'm going to assume that's the case.
Yeah.
And say that for Flatpak has a lot of, like, it does good integration with things like Discover and GNOME Software and the Cosmic Store and Pop Shop and a bunch of other GUI front ends, but and the FlatHub website itself does a great job of just giving you a copy paste of whatever command to download whatever you want. But launching Flatpaks and installing them from the command line is a royal pain in the ass. Like doing like com.bitwarden.whatever to launch it from the command line or install it is obnoxious. You can't just do like say what you will about Snap, but one thing that Snap does right is the package names make sense. You can just do snap install Firefox and you're done. Whereas it's like Snap, or whereas like Flatpak install Mozilla.firefox.something, and it's obnoxious, or .org.mozilla.firefox, or it's just like you can't easily keep track of it. And for things like Nix, like user friendliness aside, like I don't even know where I would go to find information about it, to like read documentation, to learn more about using it as a package manager or the distro. So it's kind of a mess in my opinion.
On the Flatpak naming thing, I'm sorry, I probably missed most of what you're talking about. I'm taking care of a damn dog, but most people don't ever deal with the names of the Flatpaks. They just install it from a software center. So while I agree the names of them are stupid, most people never see that. Drew, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought Nate was ahead of me. So when we talked a long time ago, Matt, you were like a massive proponent for DistroBox. Am I remembering that correctly? Mm-hmm. So how does that play into this type of like alternative package manager? I guess it's more of a question than it is a comment.
It's too nerdy for most people to use. I think I love it. I use it. I have it installed on NixOS for a couple things that I just couldn't get from Nix packages, which is, you know, a surprise given how big they tout the repository as. But it's just too nerdy. Like installing distro Box Buddy makes it easier, but you have to know Box Buddy exists in order to use it. So. And I mean, yes, you could build in with like Tixis or whatever. Tixis kind of does the integration with DistroBox, but again, you have to know Tixis exists. You have to know how to spell it. You have all these things, right? So the barrier for entry into DistroBox is just entirely too high for most people. Even most nerds don't use it because they're not quite sure of what the use case is, right? Even if they hear good things about it, they're like, it's just easier to go install something from the universe repository on Debian or whatever, so you just go get something from your regular repository. It's just easier. And if you can't get that, usually it's just build it from source. Like that's even easier than going through DistroBox. Nate, go ahead.
I'm going to have a side rant. I don't think alternative package managers are the answer because apt can't even get their crap together. I'll give you an example. On Ubuntu, the package would say Kdenlive. On Debian, the package just says Kdenlive / something. They can't even get their naming together. And by the time you get to that point, and good Lord, don't even get me started on Arch. I don't know how many of them have some kind of /dev or whatever the crap beside them. But I don't know. I feel like if they're going to do a universal package, it needs to be Flatpaks. It needs to be pushed forward, and then everybody else just kind of, if they want to do their own thing, great. But I still feel like containerized is probably the area that you're going to go that's going to be the easiest for most new people, should I say.
Yeah, I think I agree. And also the whole naming thing is not it's just, it feels like that's just a thing that distros like to do. So for example, like on NixOS, almost everything is named like you'd think it was. Like if you want to install Obsidian, it's just Obsidian. If you want to install Vivaldi, I think it's just Vivaldi. But if you want to install anything KDE, almost all the KDE packages have KDE package dot whatever in the name for whatever reason, and that means that you have to go look up those names, whereas usually you can just kind of assume that the names are what they are. But with the KDE stuff, you can't. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Well, first to answer Nate, you're confusing APT, the package tool, with the repositories of Ubuntu and Debian, which are totally separate. So it's like they're going to name it. They're not coming from the same place.
Yes, I know, but you're still saying Ubuntu is built based upon Debian, and Debian names it one way, then Ubuntu names it one way, and it's just
right. But
ridiculous.
they don't coordinate with each other.
I know it's ridiculous.
They're based on it, but it's like that's like Arch and Endeavor and all the other variations do their own thing.
Well, I think Nate's point was that they should name them all the same thing. Like if Kdenlive should be named Kdenlive.
But one's a corporation and one's a foundation.
No.
So,
no. But D-Dubs, you don't agree that Kdenlive should just be named Kdenlive no matter where you install the package?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the fact that they don't is okay. It's annoying.
Well, the reason why they don't is because the packages are usually maintained by someone else, right? So like the Arch guy's package.
They're two different repositories. The guy goes, I want to call it this. Yeah. Now, to answer your question on Nix, the reason that it's so annoying with Nix, and I agree with what you went through, is KDE's got Qt5, Qt6, all these other things. And unlike a lot of distros, Nix maintains all of those so that you can build it using either one. You're not forced to update. So they have to be separate. Partially, it's for developers. If a developer says, I've got to build a dev environment that's Qt5 for whatever reason, he can do that. So the packages are broken up. You want to go have real fun, go look at the Python packages.
Oh, yeah. I had installed... I wanted to try Pywall Fox, and in order to do that, I had to have pip installed. So yeah.
Pip or PipX.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Pip. It's weird because PipX is just named PipX, where pip has every version of Python ever existing in there.
Right. But again, but don't forget that's the nature of Python.
Yeah.
Because
OpenSUSE does the exact same thing, by the way. So it's not just a Nix thing.
Right, yeah, but I'm just saying that's why they do it. Like I say, it's hard to control, like say what Debian does or what Ubuntu does or what somebody else does, that maintaining their own repos. It's just I don't even it's annoying. I absolutely agree with you. It should be Kdenlive Live, but it's like not. It's. I'm just saying it has nothing to do with APT.
Yeah. Right, Brad, go ahead.
So switching gears slightly to something that was mentioned a little bit previously, containerization with these newer package formats with like Snap and Flatpak, and I don't know if NixOS or Nix packages have any kind of containerization, but one of the things with them that people talk about is permissions. Except from where I'm sitting, the permission system in Flatpaks, at least in Snap, is completely nonsense, because it's not the user or the administrator of the computer who's determining permissions, it's the developer, which is completely nonsense, because like every other platform other than Linux, as far as I can tell, at least has their toe in the water on this, to where like if you install an app on the Google Play Store for Android, and you have to tell it to have permission for location access or whatever. Now, say we will about Google, they're probably doing things behind the scenes that you don't know about, but at least there's that semblance of just the user has to grant permissions to an app for it to function, instead of installing an app and it just taking the permissions without telling the user about anything. And as far as I can tell, there's no packaging system on Linux that handles that properly currently.
Well, okay, so we did, I think, a whole dedicated lug on Flatpak, but the idea behind Flatpak originally was to do it like Android does, where it asks you for permission. That's their eventual goal. The problem is that they kind of divorced the ability to seek those permissions from the applications and just run it into Flatseal. And now KDE does their own thing that's built into the thing, and every other distro still has to use Flatseal, but Flatseal doesn't come pre-installed. I've talked to some of the FlatHub developers and Flatpak developers and told them, like, if you want this thing to actually work, Flatseal has to be a hard dependency of Flatpak. Like, it should just come installed. But they don't seem to want to go that direction quite yet. But I agree with you that the idea behind containerization and stuff like that is it's a little broken as the way that it is. I think that I'm not quite sure how Snap, to be honest with you, how Snap does. I think Snap sets the permissions just as they are, and you don't have much control over them at all. It's just set, again, by the developer. I might be wrong with that. I don't use Snaps. Des, go ahead.
I actually do want them to agree on packages, but I want them to agree on my packages, not other people's.
Nerdgasm, go ahead.
So I think some of the wording might be a little mixed up here, but like what I think was more being described is that in most of these platforms, the developers are deciding what permissions are needed, but on Windows and Mac OS and Android and iOS, what you're getting is that it then has to ask the user, is this okay? That way, but the decision for what's needed is still being made by the developer. It's then just asking the user for the permission to do that in the end. So like which is definitely where exactly what Matt was describing of like it's kind of getting mixed up because KDE's doing their own thing now. Like they don't want to the Flatpak people don't want to include Flatseal. It's not becoming as straightforward for it's just asking to use those things, but ultimately like it's not that different to have the developer deciding what permissions are needed and having those hard coded into there. What's needing to happen is just having those user prompts and making it easy for the user to then make that okay to happen.
Well, it seems like that the it feels like portals are the answer. Like portals already do so much already, but and they have a lot of interaction with Flatpak and Flatpaks as they are. So it feels like that's the service that needs to be in control of the permissions, not something else that they've kind of tacked on there. But Whether they'll ever get there, I don't know. The problem is none of them agree on how they need to do it, and some, like, it feels like about 50% of the Flatpak developers are all very happy with the status quo, the way that it is. The other ones all want to change things and make it more user approachable in terms of permissions, but all have different ideas on how to do it. And where it ends up, I don't know. It probably is going to end up depending on where RHEL wants to go. Like, if RHEL wants to more fully integrate the Flatpak stuff, maybe that situation will go on, or maybe the GNOME Foundation will pitch in a little bit. There's so many different politics going on with the FlatHub stuff. You never know where it's going to go. Nate, go ahead.
Okay, so there's actually two sides to Flatpaks. Number one, if you go through a software center, technically it doesn't ask because you just click it and it starts installing. But I am going to rebuttal a little bit. Flatpaks, if you install it through the terminal, it does tell you, and it does ask you, do you want to do this? And it will actually tell you these permissions I need in order to run. And you have to click yes, and then you have to click yes to install, or Y, or whatever. So that is something that is with Flatpaks. Now, if you don't want to talk about the GUI side, yes, I do think there should be a little pop-up that says, okay, here's the permissions it's going to need. Do you really want to install this? That I do agree with. But at least I feel more safe with Flatpaks than I do installing a Windows app. Just being honest.
Okay, I've installed Flatpaks probably 100 million times. I did not know that they actually gave you the permissions there, and you're right, they do, but
yeah,
good luck seeing that shit. It's buried in the middle of 9 different other things.
No, it's literally, when I install a Flatpak, it's literally the first thing that pulls up. It will literally say, here's what I need permissions. Are you okay with this? You hit yeah or hit Y.
Yeah.
And then it goes into, okay, here's all the things I need.
Nate, it says permissions here, and then it lists all the permissions, and then it gives you the name of the application, and then it asks you the questions.
Yeah. But still, you have to click Y. That's my point. Like, you have to,
you
got to read it, bro.
No. Fuck reading. Who fuck reads? Fuck off.
Somebody that actually does it for a living.
Well, my thing is, like, I never read any of that stuff. It just said proceed with these changes to the system installation. It doesn't say, do you grant permission? It doesn't say that. It says proceed with these changes to the system, and that is underneath the name of the package that you're installing. If you read up, you do see the permissions that it's asking for, and everybody's watching the video can actually see this. But I just assumed it was talking about this here, and I never actually read up here. I was like, who the fuck reads up there? All right, anyways. It's just it's so weird because I didn't know that. I didn't know that it did that. But even then, I just thought it was asking permission. Are you sure you want to install? Like, I didn't know about the permission stuff.
Nobody reads.
I read important things, not the stuff in my terminal. I mean, pipe to bash. Okay,
permissions aren't important.
Just pipe it to bash. It's fine. It's fine. Nerdgasm, go ahead.
Yeah, to this point, like I think a great place for them to have those permissions listed for Flatpaks would be on the FlatHub page. You know, similar to things like the Google Play Store and otherwise, where it actually would say, "Oh yes, these permissions are what's being requested." But I'm looking at multiple apps that would require certain permissions, and I'm not seeing that listed anywhere on the page on FlatHub. So like that's something that's really missing. That should be there.
Nate?
Well, to FlatHub's credit, this is a community brand, not a multi-billion or trillion-dollar company. So maybe there's time there will get there. But at the same time, hold up. At the same time, Android, every time I say don't do this, it freaking updates. And guess what? Google, with their little sticky fingers, turns the application back on. And I'm like, don't do that. I said not to. Anyways, that's my rant.
I would just say on the FlatHub thing, I know you're coming to their defense, but how they obviously have a form somewhere along the line that says name, description. How hard would it be to have just another text box in there that says permissions. What permissions do you need? Just put those on there somewhere, you know, and put a little star mark on that says required. I mean, that would take like, I'm not a web dev at all, but I could create a Google form for them to do it. You know, it's not that hard. It seems like they could do that if they wanted to do that. But they have so many problems with, you know, is this thing verified? What does verified actually mean? You know, and all this stuff. You know, it just sometimes this has somehow become the Flatpak episode instead of, you know, what we're supposed to be talking about. But sometimes it feels like the guys behind FlatHub don't know what they're doing and where they want to go and the things that they want to do. And I'm pretty sure I just read somewhere along the line, like the lead guy is no longer really interested in the project at all and is just staying there because no one else wants to take over. I don't know if it was on the internet, so it has to be true, but you know, it just feels like it's a project constantly in like flux and worry that it just in like 3 or 4 years, like it's just not even going to exist because the entire thing imploded and all the developers scattered because they got into a fight or something. It's just, you know, it's gonna be really weird. D-Dubs, go ahead.
You actually took most of what I was going to say. Is there is a lot of that churn, but they haven't even figured out yet, like say, what is verified, how to verify it, you know, to make these things safe. I mean, the AOR has that same problem. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. It should be part of the basic process of applying to go onto the FlatHub. What permissions are needed? It should be mandatory, so that would, I mean, they give you the preview, they give you this nice description. Put in the permissions. It's not that hard, you know. Of course, now they have so many apps, it'll be much harder now to do.
Yeah, going back through all those would be a pain in the ass.
Would be a pain in the ass, but you got to push that back.
Yeah, I think that I don't know, D-Dubs, if you knocked your microphone loose there or what, but you kind of cut off mid-sentence. But the
sorry,
I
put the mute button on the top of the mic, and I move my hands.
Yeah, yeah. I cannot throw stones at anybody hitting the microphone. I do it all the time. Did you have more to say? Go ahead.
That was the most of it. Was it's the fundamental stuff. I learned only recently with Nix packages, the way they kind of try to prevent some of these malicious apps is it has to be reviewed by people of certain qualification levels. You can't just apply and say, accept my Nix package. HyperPanel went through that, and it took him months after he had done all the work to get enough of the qualified people to take the time to review his code and review his package. So, but that's, you know, such a much more difficult process. I don't know that all the other, you know, whether it's snaps or Flatpaks are going to do that. I mean, look what happened to the Snap Store from Ubuntu. You know, with that malicious app that was there like almost the first day that it went online.
Well, I mean, obviously there's the human problem. Like you can't just, I mean, Nix packages has like what, hundreds of thousands of apps or whatever it is, right? And you know, FlatHub has how many ever apps it has, and they're already there. But I mean, there are tools where some of this stuff could be automated for moderation. Like you could do a CI/CD script or something like that checks to see if the developer has followed the rules in certain places. You know, some of that stuff could possibly be automated. Now, there's still going to be stuff that would pass through, but some of that could be automated and therefore would scrape across the, you know, it would scrape some of the fluff out of there that really didn't follow the rules, that has certain things going that, you know, that might be malicious or don't present in a certain way that follow the guidelines or whatever. So it's just, sometimes it feels like we have all the idea, like it really would be good if the FlatHub guys actually joined a lug at one point, that we could like talk to them and say, hey, you know, this is the way that it should work. Why doesn't it work that way? And what's the holdup? Like, is it money? Is it politics? Is it, you know, someone not wanting to do the work? Is it lack of developers? What is it that's actually, you know, causing it to be the way that it is? Nate, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, obviously we have all the ideas to solve all the problems in Linux. But at this, to Flatpak's credit, at least when I update my system, the packages itself don't break my system, unlike a particular distro that starts with an A. That's all.
Okay. Rye bread?
So, does Nix packages have any kind of we've been talking a lot about Flatpaks, and I think I might have been contributing to that. But like, do NixOS packages have any kind of containerization or anything like that? I have to admit, I know very little about NixOS, and I'm actually excited to see your challenge, Matt. No pressure to see what videos come out of that, so I can learn more about it too through osmosis. But are any of the things that we've been talking about with Flatpak related? Like, can that be translated to NixOS packages at all, as far as containerization or permissions or anything like that?
All right, we're gonna skip the line just a little bit. D-Dubs, can you answer that question? Because you probably be better than me.
Yes. Well, first of all the traditional Nix package, all the Flatpaks and so forth are available. But there is also, in Nix, you could build entire containerized environments. But there is also now I don't remember the name of the option, but you can actually take a regular app and containerize it in Nix. So you can, in effect, create your own Flatpaks out of a native app. You don't actually have to change the app and write it for a Flatpak. So absolutely, there's so many features that NixOS has like that, because that's kind of one of its strengths.
But by default, nothing's actually containerized out of the box, though, right? It's just
correct. Yeah,
right.
I mean,
because
okay, if you built your system on impermanence, that's a level of containerization, for example. Because every time you boot, it basically builds the system again. So you're right, but nothing out of the box, but it's all there. I mean, you don't get a lot of that. You have to install Flatpaks, and you have to install Snap Service, and
yeah,
I mean, not too many come out of the box anyway.
Right. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, right, Brad? Nerdgasm, go ahead.
I want to correct the record because I was wrong with what I was saying about FlatHub. There is a place where it does show permissions. It was just very badly labeled, in my opinion. I was looking at GNOME boxes, which is like, yes, I know this needs permissions. It's doing virtual machines. It does actually say where permissions, but it's just a button labeled potentially unsafe, and then it kind of lists them out in a single line by separated by semicolons, which is just not that eye-catching for like permissions. You click on that, it actually displays it more in a proper list, but still does not actually say the word permissions anywhere on there. And that definitely could be better. But I just wanted to correct the record and not spread misinformation.
Okay, good. Drew, go ahead.
So I too am eagerly anticipating Matt's videos coming from the NixOS universe, where we have bets that he will end up crashing and burning and not getting to the second. But I will say this. I think that he's like made it a lot further than I thought he was. And I don't remember exactly what Nate said, and I don't remember exactly what I said in terms of like duration.
I'm pretty sure you said 23 days is what.
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure. Okay, so first off, I'm at 15, so I'm pretty sure Nate chickened out just a little bit during the bet, because you thought you were gonna. He was saying Matt's gonna fail the challenge within that time, and he says, well, he's just gonna make a rant video, which is completely unfair because I make rant videos all the time.
Truth. Now, okay, so back to the topic. So when you were questioning whether like how we got on the Flat Hub kind of like side topic, I feel like I need to like step in because George Castro is not here, and George would be saying something like, look, we've been doing Linux desktop wrong for 20 years and the future is obvious, and we should be just having an OS like like Kinoid or or what have you, boring and reliable and invisible, and then just use flat packs that are containerized and not affecting anything else. That is the future of Linux, and we should all just get on board right now. Because George is not here, I let that be known. Even though I will never fucking do that in my life. Just letting you.
I'm honestly surprised he hasn't shown up. Usually when someone says Bluefin, he's like there. It's
You
like
have to say it three times in a row, Matt.
Beetlejuice. It's funny that we just thought that exactly the same thing. But it's true. It's like he shows up. So George, if you watch this after the stream, just know that we were thinking about you. Nate, go ahead.
Well, for one, George is wrong. Anyways, I just like saying that just because I know he would say that. But I will say, if anything that needs to happen, I feel like Drew needs to somehow figure out how to get DWM into Wayland and make it possible, because I have been playing with DWM and I hate the fact that it's only on X, and we need to figure out how to make this work. Because
have you tried DWL?
No, I've wanted to, but no. It to me doesn't seem like it's ready. But at the same time, I'm just trying to get away from this thinking package application topic. But anyways.
Oh, you're sick flat packs, huh? Okay. Well, that's okay. Specs, what you got?
I would say I've tried DWL in the past. If you're not a C programmer by any means, I do feel like the patches on the DWL are very like limited in a sense. It has a lot of missing Wayland protocols that compared to like something like Sway or Hyperland that need to be manually integrated in.
Yeah. So I've never tried DWL, but I do know that the patches that are available for DWM aren't one-to-one to DWL, which makes sense because most of those are going to be for Xorg. But it does feel like you in order for DWL to be successful, a lot of those ideas have to come along, and that's just going to be a time and effort problem. And who's going to take that time and effort? Who knows how long that's going to take? But also look at how much effort Vaxry has put into creating a whole ecosystem around Hyperland. In order for a lot of these, we're completely off base. Thanks a lot, Nate. Like you guys are just whatever. All right, but anyways, for a lot of these Wayland compositors, in order for them to be successful, they're going to have that ecosystem in order to work. Because you're going to need something to be able to set wallpapers. You're going to need to have something that's going to be able to control the ability for the monitors to go off and lock themselves. Now, a lot of this stuff, like you could use HyperPanel or whatever, probably on like Neri if you wanted to. I don't see the reason why you couldn't. But it does feel like the Hyperland stuff is closed into its own little software ecosystem. Whereas, and then it's one of the biggest problems with like Qtile and Wayland. Qtile and Wayland is a lot more stable than it used to be, but it still relies a lot on the WL roots tooling, and a lot of Sway stuff is there. And that's fine if you want to use that stuff. If you don't want to use it, you're kind of having to find alternatives. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to kind of pile on the patch thing. That's the exact same thing I've heard. I haven't seen a lot of activity on DWL. By the way, HyperPanel will not work on Neri. It's strictly written for Hyperland.
Okay.
So Neri doesn't have like the workspaces the same way. Just a lot of things. Now they are. By the way, they are rewriting it entirely to be Wayland agnostic, if you will. It's going to be in Rust.
You're talking about HyperPanel, right?
HyperPanel. Yep, HyperPanel is being rewritten.
Okay. First off, of course it's being rewritten in Rust. I mean, obviously. What else?
Obviously. Hello. Where you been, pal?
Maybe like just one time I'd like somebody to rewrite something in Go just to be fun and different. You know what I mean?
No, I refuse. But the thing is, you have to worry about DWM is going to be around for a while. It ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And by the way, did you see? Speaking of WL roots, there was an update recently. I want to say 1.9. So I wanted to actually try Qtile on Wayland again with the updated WL roots.
Last time I tried it, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just the tooling that surrounds it that still needed a little bit of work.
Yeah. Well, my Linux for Work is going to revitalize his Qtile project, which I think is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try some more Qtile as well, because that bar is just superior to everything. I've been messing around with Waybar the last 2 days as I've been trying to integrate Pywall, and I hate Waybar with a flying passion. But I tried HyperPanel now that I could get it to install on NixOS, and it was fine, but it's just not the way that I like. I know it has a configuration file, but it wants you to do this whole GUI thing, and I'm just like, it's not.
Yeah, you could do it either way. The GUI's gotten a lot better. Actually,
it was cool. It's just not, and I know you could do it in the configuration file, but it just, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another chance. It just felt too, I don't know. It was a weird experience for me. Drew, go ahead.
I just want to know, and I'm not suggesting that this isn't a awesome kind of like morph, but how did we get from the original topic to DWM? I just want to know, because in the future, I'd like to have this kind of path. Like,
all you gotta do
is
stick Nate on it, because it was it was all Nate's fault. He was sick of the flat pack conversation, so he
my guy.
So it's like, let's talk about DWM and not being on Wayland. It's okay, Nate. Someday Cosmic will come out in like 2029 or something. Specs, go ahead.
I'll just leave the comment. I'm not sure if anybody else has heard, but Qtile has been rewriting their entire Wayland backend in C. So
I thought for sure you were going to say Rust. I thought you were going to say Rust. Like, there's no way. There's no. Why on earth would they rewrite? Like, they're known as the Python guys. That's like the ultimate betrayal.
It's one of the maintainers mentioned that it was getting quite hard to track upstream WL roots. So they're rewriting it in C, and it's supposed to be a lot easier to keep the Wayland backend updated.
How on earth are they going to? They need to rename it then. I'm sorry, but if it's not going to be like, if you can't use the same configuration file across Wayland and Xorg, it loses all interest for me.
You should be able to, actually.
But the Qtile configuration is in Python.
That doesn't matter.
Like, it's in Python.
Yeah. Sorry to jump in, but that doesn't matter, man. It's the back end. Python is making a call to the back end. Like, for example,
that seems like entirely too much work to me.
Replaced WL roots with Aquamarine.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's going to be more work for me. I'm just saying it feels like the reason. Okay, it just feels weird to me. Okay, it feels weird to me. It's because they're like literally the entire documentation is like reads like a Python handbook. Anyways, Nate, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, number one, Cosmic is pretty much ready at this point because I've been running it daily for a while now. Secondly, the reason why I went to DWM, because Drew, I now only have 2 machines that have Pop OS, and the rest actually have Debian. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm getting old, I guess.
Drew, what did you do to Nate? D-Dubs, go ahead.
He has joined the dark side.
Yeah.
Actually, though, just to boost Drew a little bit more, is I don't know if anybody's tried his Qtile config. Is very impressive. But just briefly to go back to the back end is simply going to be calls from Python to the back end. Just like right now, you still write it in Python, but you talk to an Xorg back end.
Right.
So the fact that they're rewriting it, I think, is silly. But
my thing is, like, okay, so what is Qtile known for historically? Changing things and breaking the configuration. That's what they're known for.
Don't worry, that's not going anywhere.
Right, I know. Literally, this is 100. This is like the most Qtile thing ever. Like, this is exactly what they've always done. Is they always change things to break stuff. Like, they can't just.
But I guess, but you have KWin and you have all these other, rewritten back ends to the same spec. I think partially because the WL roots overall is not well documented still, as far as I know. But it's interesting that everybody's writing their own.
It's because we can't have standards or nice things on Linux, D-dubs. If we had standards and nice things on Linux, it wouldn't be open source. Come on, man.
We'd all be kumbaya.
This is why we can't have nice things, and this is how you get ants.
Exactly.
So Qtile is my favorite window manager, but it's weird because for like the last year they have been, at least on the Xorg side, have been astonishingly stable. And I know the reason why is because they've been focusing on the Wayland stuff. That's the reason why. Like, the reason why it keeps working is because they haven't been working on it. I'm probably not true, and they probably have made some things, but they, as far as I know, that like they haven't added any like widgets or anything to the bar in like a year. They haven't, and usually it's the bar that breaks things because that's where they're always making the changes. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Besides, you don't even have to wait for them to break Qtile. All you have to do is wait for the next Python
update. Yeah,
and just break it for you. So you'll still get your pleasure of your broken config. Don't worry. Even you'll get it. Don't worry. Even when they go to the Wayland back end, you'll still have the Python to break for you. Don't worry, pal. We got you covered.
As long as Hyperland stays stable. Oh damn, I'm screwed. Specs, go ahead.
This is what I love about DWM. It's just it's a static binary when you build it, and it will stay like that till the end of time. That's just what I love about DWM. I wish every other window manager was like that, but unfortunately that's not the case.
Well, and they won't have to rewrite anything in C because it's already there. Yeah. Drew, go ahead.
The more I'm thinking about this, the harder it is for my brain to wrap around a Python and C kind of like methodology here, other than the fact because Python is interpreted, C is compiled. And beyond that, and yes, it has access to like more, memory management, manual memory management, and some of the tools that are already written in Wayland, probably a little bit more in the C pile, but you're talking about two very different languages now. So yeah, I don't get it either, but I love all the DWM love. That's all that's what, come for weird shit like NixOS, stay for the DWM.
All roads lead to DWM. That's just D-Dubs, go ahead.
Well, the thing, Drew, is the back end is, like I say, today is Xorg. That's a C binary. There's no difference. We're just swapping out what Python is going to call to do what you want it to do. When you say draw a box or draw a frame or whatever the function is, it's just going to be making calls to libraries to do the work.
But those libraries are currently in X11. Those are currently Python libraries. And you would need... No?
No. You have Python libraries that make calls to the system. But Xorg is what is the display isn't being done by Qtile. Qtile is saying to the Xorg subsystem, I need you to do something, like open a window. Where's my mouse? All of those things are handled by X, not by Qtile.
Okay. Question for you then, D-Dubs. What is the Wayland? What are the Wayland libraries and things that Qtile are talking to right now written in?
I thought WL Roots was in C. It's either C or C++.
So what actually are they rewriting? If they already have a Wayland version that's talking to the C Wayland
Right.
roots. So what are
But
they? What are they actually?
they're literally replacing the WL roots.
So they're doing what Vaxry did.
Yes, that's what I said earlier.
Okay.
Just like Vaxry rewrote it because he thought it sucked, and it did.
Okay, that
And then
makes more sense to
He
me.
says I could do a better job, and he did it in less than 30 days.
So my question then is, if they're rewriting WL roots, why don't they just rewrite it in Python?
Because it would be hella slow and hella suck.
Come on, man, Python.
It would be hella slow and hella suck.
Okay, I always quibble with the anti-Python guys over the slowness of it. It is not that slow.
You could say write it in Bash or write it in any other interpretive language you want to name, and I'm going to say it's going to suck.
Well, if you wanted it fast, then you should just write it in Rust. I mean,
exactly. And just get rid of Python entirely. I think.
Damn,
Python
I knew that was coming.
The world. That's anti-Python. No, it's just too slow. I mean, you look at how long it takes to do things.
I can see it being too slow for dealing with displaying windows and stuff like that. So I guess I agree with that. I'm just saying you're putting in the effort. I mean, maybe C is just like the language is always going to be there, right? Like that's the language is going to, it's the default language. It's the language of life, if you will.
Well, and don't forget too, with a C or C++ or Rust or any of those, you also get access to compiler optimization for processors.
Well, plus they can take the parts of WL roots that they like and just carry on with them instead of having to rewrite them completely. So that makes sense too. So
they sort of can't, because I mean there's a minimum set you have to support. Because otherwise what's going to happen is somebody's going to write a Python app or an app even, and then try to run it. It's not going to work. You've got to cover all the required stuff, which pretty much is everything. Because like I say, otherwise somebody's going to call a function, it's just going to crash.
It's really disappointing that this is actually happening and they're just not using what's available. I understand why. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it felt like Qtile Wayland finally got to a place where, like, okay, I can say, hey, you guys can go use Python Qtile Wayland, and now they're going to do this thing, which is probably going to mean that I can't recommend people use it or can't use it myself.
Well, again, we'll have to see how well they do, but I would suspect if they do it correctly, it's a drop-in, so you could keep WL roots until that sort of became stable enough, because that's the whole thing. It's an API call. You are making a call into a library or like, for example, everybody's familiar with like dbus, for your notifications and for your other things. Those are API calls at a certain port, and there's a message protocol. Well, it's similar with what you're dealing with here. You call a function, the library that Python has, and the libraries in Python aren't written in Python, they're written in C or C++.
Yeah.
And then that call into the library calls into X11 or whatever you're doing. I mean, it's just, you follow kind of a sequence of events. That's why it doesn't really matter. You can take the same Linux and run whatever window manager you want, but you notice you always have to pull in all the libraries, libx this and Cinemera or whatever, and then oh shit, now I'm going to pull in all this Python stuff, or I'm going to pull in C stuff for DWM.
I just had a nightmare of them rewriting it in Haskell. Just like, oh god.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Specs, go ahead.
So no, they're not rewriting the entire backend and replacing like what Vaxry did. According to this one document they have in their thing here in the Git repo, they're rewriting it. I'm not a developer. They're rewriting it in C so they can have direct access to WL roots, because PyWL roots, which is currently what the Wayland backend is based off of, is a Python binding to the WL roots binary, the library. So it needs to translate those Python calls to C calls, and that's kind of acting as a middleman. So they have to constantly track upstream from there, which I could suspect why that's harder in a sense and why they're rewriting it in C.
Sorry to jump in, but that makes sense. I was just reading the article. So that interface that I was just talking about to go from Python to the Wayland backend is what they're rewriting in C. It's saying that the what they're currently using hasn't any development since 2024. So it's either you pick that up and then who knows how good that was written, or you just start from scratch. And it's going to be a much smaller piece. That's actually really good news.
Okay, we can stop freaking out, guy. Drew, go ahead.
You know, I guess we talked a little bit about this. Matt and I had our podcast a couple weeks ago when we talked about window managers and Sway. I don't think Matt had Sway in his top 10. I did have Sway in my top 10. The one thing that I think Sway did right was they completely started fresh, and they completely rewrote the i3 code base for Wayland. And so that was the thing that I thought was, and that's why I think they've been stable for so long. And so I will not hear, Matt, of your disparaging words against Sway any longer.
I don't have anything against Sway other than the bar sucks, and that's not Sway's fault. Waybar, which is what Sway bar is based on, I think, is just god awful. It's horrible. You know, and speaking of Waybar, I wouldn't have a problem with Waybar being in CSS if it was full fucking CSS. If I could just use anything that was in CSS in there, that'd be really freaking cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff that CSS can do that I want to be able to use, but it's just not available to it because they half-assed it. But that's just my point. Nate, go ahead.
I just have a request to anybody that's watching this video for all the really smart cookies in coding. Please make awesome WM into Wayland. Thank you. That's all I request.
Just make all the window managers into Wayland for Nate. Okay, that way he can just be a happy guy.
Yes. Like,
please let me port my Kindle to Wayland.
I don't want all this extra hyperlink, blah, blah, blah. I don't want all this extra other. I just want what I have, and I want it to work, and I want it to be moved to Wayland.
I think that
get off my lawn.
I think if you look at the conversations about porting Awesome to Wayland, there's been no movement on that since like 2019 or something like that. So good luck.
I know that's why I'm saying it now. This is a cry for help. Okay,
like
I need help.
The ex-Monad guys decided that they couldn't do it at all, so they decided they were going to try to raise money to hire someone to do it for them. I don't know what the status of that ever ended up being. I obviously DWM's never going to go. BSPWM is in maintenance mode basically. That's never going to go. I don't know about DK. I don't know much about. I think that's just like one guy, so I very much doubt that that's going to be rewritten. So like the existing window managers that are out there are pretty much going to be where they are at. It's going to be new things like Neary is going to be the thing. Like we're going to have new window managers, guys. It's going to be great. It's just going to take some time. So like, I know we're not patient, but I think eventually we will have alternatives to what we used to know. It's just going to be new things. And Drew will get those things in the year 2042 eventually. They'll get there eventually. Specs, go ahead.
We just need someone like Vax3 to port everything.
He has enough work, okay?
No. He's insane. I don't know when he sleeps.
I can't. They're talking about Neary in the chat. I can't use Neary because it does not have scratch pads. And if a window manager doesn't have scratch pads, it's not a real window manager. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Get on forever. Just kidding. It is true. There are many other things coming along, and again, X is not going anywhere for quite a while. It's like there's like no panic. There's no rush. Now, by the way, about Vax3 is actually coding less than what he was. He's actually been spending more time managing all the other people that have been contributing. He's got like 300 plus contributors now. So he's actually spending more time with merging and stuff. But it is interesting.
I think that's probably a good thing. It keeps him from
I agree.
Starting over again like he does. Like every like 6 months, there for a while he was like, I need to rewrite this thing in Rust or whatever.
Well, oh no! Don't ever say that word to him.
I know.
That is a 4-letter word with him. That's for sure. But no, the thing about with all like Neary and all these other ones, it's fun to see people be creative and come up with new ways of doing it. I like it. I think it's the strength of Linux. And I'm sorry, but I don't see a unified package manager to kind of get back to that. I don't see any of that. There's just too many people doing it their own way. And if you want it somebody's way, then you might as well go to Microsoft or Red Hat.
Well, I think that's the shame of Flatpaks, D-dubs, is that that's the thing that came the closest, right? Of all the universal package managers that we've ever had or are attempted to have, Flatpak is the thing that was adopted by the most distros ever.
Right, and that's a good thing. That and app images. I think for corporations who want to bring their applications to Linux, the only way that's going to happen is through like app image or through Flatpaks. I don't see Snap doing it because Snap just sucks. So many different levels. So no, that's a great thing. But you could still have your window manager. You could still have your package manager. You could still have all the things that you want, whether it's NixOS or OpenSUSE or whatever, as long as the Flatpaks are managed better than I think that they are today, and the same for the app images. Resolve should be delivered by one of those containerized packages.
Yes.
Sorry,
I got really excited there for a second. It's never going to happen.
Other great applications. I think even Adobe, if Adobe had 2 brain cells that functioned, they would be delivering their software on like a Flatpak or on an app image.
I think that they'd have the same argument that a lot of game developers have, that it's not about packaging or anything like that. It's more about the support that comes along with it.
Right, because you tried to support a Debian and support an Arch package and support a Nix package. Again, that's why I say there's absolutely no reason that Resolve or their apps can't run as Flatpaks. They're going to be large, but guess what? Look at the size of the games. Games are ridiculously large today.
Yeah.
I mean, like crazy large. So that to me is not even a big issue. And Flatpaks I happen to like over app images because of the way they manage it and reuse the space, and when you do updates and so forth. An app image, you got to replace the whole thing every time. Yeah. So that is the answer to getting commercial companies into Linux. Don't worry about what environment someone's running in. Just deliver the Flatpak and let them, worry about it. And it also eases their support.
Yeah. Nate, go ahead.
I have a couple statements. The first one is I feel like I'm the winner of this lug because I said that we're going to never agree, and I was right. Number 2, in regards to my awesome window manager being on Wayland, I'm going to use an old commercial that will warm your heart. It's my WM, and I want it now. Okay.
that is a little old, Nate. I'm just and the kids are like, what is that from? Arch Penguin, go ahead.
I just wanted to give support to what D-Dubs was saying about the corporation and adopting Flatpaks. It's kind of already happening. A prime example is Fender Studio just put out a Flatpak. They do require you to make an account, but it's actually pretty good. I was really surprised.
The weird thing about Resolve is that from what I see, like when I try to install it natively, it's packaged as an app image. Like there's an app image somewhere in there that the installer uses to install whatever it installs, but it doesn't package all the stuff with it for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's very weird. And the only reason I know that is because during the install, you'll actually see the word app image in there somewhere. And you're like, wait a minute, what? Like, then why isn't this just a fucking app image? Sorry. I'm a little angry. Specs, go ahead.
Am I the only one that doesn't really trust like proprietary software like Photoshop running on my system. Like, I don't know. It seems to be like a common thing where people in the Linux world prioritize FOSS over everything else. But yeah, I wouldn't really trust something like Photoshop running on my system.
I doubt you're alone, but I think a lot of people would be happy that it would be here. Nate, go ahead.
Well, I don't think it's so much of trusting. I think it's for the simple fact of actually having support, good support. Unfortunately, Adobe does support the product, and it's actually quite good, minus the shady stuff they do on the back end of selling your data and all that stuff. But to answer Matt's question, I think part of it too is like, you know how we have the problem with the AAC codec with Linux. I think that's part of the reason why Resolve doesn't do that, is because they probably run into a lot of legal issues. Because you know Linux kind of reverse engineer a few things to make them work.
I hate that shit. I hate it so much. I had to buy a Mac. Okay. All right, D-Dubs, go ahead.
Yeah, just actually, he just kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say is true. You know, there are always going to be those legal issues as far as trust goes. Well, I mean, you look at DuckDuckGo. You know, they were like the privacy. We're all about privacy, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, except for Microsoft, we have this little side deal we didn't tell you about. You know, of course, Chrome, all the Edge. You know, there are choices, absolutely, but I mean, it's kind of the reality of it.
Yeah. Specs, you're gonna wrap us up. What you got?
I'm going to go so off topic, but what search engines really can you trust nowadays? Like,
well, I'd say Circs, but that's only because it still runs through all this other things. People say Start Page because Start Page obfuscates Google, but I don't know. Who knows? But I'd recommend Circs. That'd be the one that I would recommend.
Self-host your own Circs and you'll change your life, baby. You know?
Oh yeah.
So good. All right. So that's actually where we're going to end up. We did go for almost exactly 2 hours. So if you guys watched this all the way through, thank you so very much. We did have a very good time. We did not stay on topic, but that's not at all unusual. So also,
you're welcome.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's always Nate's fault every single time. Like, I should have known better than to guilt him into coming on, but it's okay. It was great. So anyways, if you guys want to join us, we do this lug 2 times a month. The first one is on the second Thursday of the month. That's at 11:15 a.m. Eastern time. The second one, which is this one, is 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. We do, again, twice a month, and anyone can join. You want to join? I always share the URL about half an hour before we start, so you can just come on here, chat. If you don't want to, you can join the chat like a whole bunch of you guys already have. We do stream this every single time, so you can there, and the video on demand will stay up on the channel as well if you want to watch it after the fact. So if you can't join during one of these times, you can always just watch us back and then leave a comment to participate, because we do appreciate the comments. If you haven't already, leave a thumbs up, all that stuff. I do believe that we did not get demonetized this time, so that's a good thing. That's fantastic. And I think that's all I have for you guys. So thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate you joining us for this awesome lug, and we'll see you all next time.
I was going to say, if you want me to, I can get